Well, once again, my name is Ken Roberts. I am one of the principals of Interior Talent. And Interior Talent, you may or may not know who we are, but we are, for the last 17 years, have been part of this A&D community as international recruiters, specifically for architecture and interior design. We also work with wonderful manufacturers of the A&D products, and we do stuff all the United States. We've done stuff in Canada, the Middle East, China, and other parts of the country and the world. And so we're really excited. We're based out of Orlando, Florida. And of course, I'm honored to be part of this event with my partner in crime here, the president and founder of our company, A&D Roberts. And I'm going to turn it over to her to start some things off.
Great, thank you. Yeah, as Ken said, we've been in this industry for a long time. And I think specifically as it relates to many of you, we've worked extensively in kitchen and bath and with a lot of manufacturers of K&B products. Last year we got to speak at KBIS in Las Vegas. So we definitely have a very big part in our hearts of this specific pocket of the industry. We do a lot. We pretty much always have these types of roles going on. We've worked with Kohler, for example, since 2005, actually. So anyhow, it's really, really nice to be asked by NKBA because we really appreciate the industry. So kicking off, part of what I want to just overview of where we've gotten our information, as it's certainly been a very interesting time in our industry over the last few months. And we have spent a lot of our time really talking to leaders in the industry out of all sectors and really finding out how are they navigating this time, what are their hiring needs, what are they doing to remain competitive through this time. So this webinar, we've been giving different intonations of and different versions really a lot through the last 3 months. And literally the information gets updated, quite honestly, weekly as we're seeing things shift in the market and different sectors pick back up as the country's reopening. So a lot of the information is very timely, but is coming directly from our clients' mouths, which I think is important if you're an emerging professional and a job seeker, is really finding out what are leaders in the industry saying, doing, and how will that help you. So our goal is for you guys to have a couple nuggets and takeaways from this. As Ken said, please use the chat. We want this to be very conversational, a discussion. It's not formal. If we are missing something, put it in. We can check and add to it as we go or do it at the end. But anyhow, we want to create this as a comfortable opportunity for you guys to, especially as a small group tonight. So saying that, let's jump right in. So this thing, new skills in the business environment, what we're pulled here was what have companies done over the last several months, as I mentioned, to top grade their talent, to be effective. What are they doing, and how does that relate to skills that may be valuable for you to highlight or market yourself to when looking for a position? Technical skills is an obvious one. As we are on right now, everybody is in the world of virtual conferences, virtual interviews. We have ourselves in our company, we've been doing video interviews for the last several years just because we work all over the country. So we, for many of our searches, do videos, but it is now absolutely the norm. So even when everything was shut down, we were moving forward with video interviews. So it's probably not as new to candidates, but I will definitely say even with our clients now, it's the funniest thing when they want to even have a touch base or see how things are going in a search. They all want to be on video all the time now. So everyone has become a little more tech savvy, which is great. And not only just in the video, but in how they're reaching their customers, how they're reaching their team members with people working remote. So the technical component has always been important in our industry, but we're finding now it's even more important in the teamwork and in the sales process. So it's something as an emerging professional that's really important for you to be highlighting when you're looking for a job, and be taking note of the importance of being really fluid and using all these tools effectively. Driving business. The other interesting part we're seeing is now everybody is got their business development hat on. This has been, we kind of saw this in 2009, the last recession, where coming out of it, things weren't as segmented. So, people who weren't even in sales or marketing, collectively as a company, everyone had the responsibility of driving business. And we bring this up because oftentimes in design, even though you are selling your design ideas and there is a sales component, we're seeing now more than ever, every single person within the organization is hyper aware of bringing in business, because in some cases, business have really slowed down or shut off, depending what area, or they've had to be more efficient in how they do it and be more creative and nimble in reaching their customer, because they can't do it the way they've normally done it. They're not meeting at trade shows, they're not doing networking events. So it's been an interesting time of opportunity within, sales and marketing, as far as other people within the organization. Open to change, this is a big one, and maybe some of you have seen this within your own organizations, is really in any time of change, the people who tend to rise to the top and the people who do well are yes people. Change is difficult, and with companies right now having to pivot, and even clients, and I'm not suggesting it's just the ones that have lost business, even clients who have remained very steady, they obviously had to alter how they do business, how they reach their customers, how they project manage, how they do all of those things, because even on-site visits to clients and installations, all of those things look really different. So being a yes person and being someone that can adapt and not push back, but be open to what's happening, is a very valuable commodity right now in the job market. And then big picture, it's really goes back to the driving business. We're really seeing a collectiveness of companies uniting and everyone being really aware of the big picture. There's been a lot more transparency with companies who have had challenges or had to navigate this time. And they've really looked for everyone, no matter what your role is, to come together and see the bigger picture of what the company is and not just the individual win. So we share this going back because if this is what employers are saying is important in their organization, and these are the traits that people have that are retaining their jobs, then it's really important to make sure that when you're in an interview or when you're marketing yourself out there, that you're highlighting some of these items, or at least being aware when you're starting a dialogue with a potential employer that these are things that people are looking for.
Absolutely. So, and everyone's always asking us, right? There's, you can look at what's going on in the markets, you look what's going on unemployment, and people keep asking us, Ken, who's hiring? Are people hiring? And we can tell you that we've seen a pretty big uptick, and we know that things are not where they need to be or where we want them to be, but we've, I always tell people very simply, if a recruiter gets called, that's a really good sign, because our services are not free for employers, right? That's who pays our fee. So it's important to know is that there's still a gap of talent in our industry, meaning that there is more demand than there is supply of designers for our industry. So that's a good thing. What's challenging right now is that the businesses aren't fully back up and running, but we are seeing an uptick in businesses. This last maybe 4 or 6 weeks have been very impactful for our business. And we're starting to see more and more things happening. So it's a really good sign. And companies are taking advantage of some of the things that Nadia just mentioned, like technology and that business development aspect of it. They're doing that now. They're really doing all focuses on that, where they're incorporating technology, because for obvious reasons they have to. They're working more remotely, and they're going to probably continue to be more remote. But then also in marketing efforts, we're doing it as a company. We're spending a lot of time and effort in really marketing our company and getting our exposure out there, something that we didn't do enough last recession, but companies are doing that. So you're going to see them really spending the time and effort into those areas and really enhancing customer experience. That's another thing that we've been focusing on, is to ensure that we're giving a really great experience to both candidates and clients, right? Because we're unique in the sense that we have two clients per se, right? So we're seeing some really good things. We wanted to share with you some of the areas that we're seeing that are growing right now, or that are hiring, I should say. And so I wanted to go over these areas. So corporate interiors is you would think is pretty obvious, because corporate environment is changing because of COVID. And so we're seeing a number of our clients that focus on corporate interiors, contract furniture dealers, what have you, are adjusting because they see that their clients are going to need to quickly and very rapidly make some adjustments to their space, right? So whether they're going to put partitions up, whether they're using type of plexiglass screen walls, anything that's really going to give them their employees the comfort to come back into the office and the safety, right? That's a big thing. So we're also seeing residential design, because the fact is that people have spent so much time in their homes, and we're one of them, that have realized, wow, we need to make some changes. we need to do some projects. And so we're seeing a nice uptick in residential design, you know, of all levels, from, you know, maybe from that mid-tier all the way up to the higher end. And so that's a really good sign for the residential market. And we're probably seeing a number of kitchen and bath folks are starting to get quite a big flow of business, because people are realizing they need to get things done. Yes, supply chain has been affected from that, and so that's affected some things to be able to get some work done. But we're starting to see that kind of get fixed a little bit. Builders. Now we're seeing a number of both commercial and residential builders really making an impact there, because a lot of people are leaving the big cities, right? So they're leaving these apartment structures and they want to get a home. They want to get a little more space. They want to be, they don't want to be in those confined spaces anymore. So we're seeing an uptick in builders. And with builders, we're seeing companies that do renovations to go along with the residential design really being impacted, because people are realizing that maybe that they don't have enough space, or they want to, or maybe they're bringing on elderly folks into their home. Anything of that nature might really be affected builders. And then home products, all tying into the residential aspect of it, is that we're seeing that people look at Home Depot, look at a number of the furniture stores. I just went to a furniture store with my father the other day, and you know, he's buying some chairs, and the guys are saying they've never been busier, because people are realizing that, you know, if you're going to spend this much time at home, and they may continue to spend that much time home because they might be working remotely, they want to make it the best place ever. So home products are seeing an impact, and we're seeing consumer spending has been doing well. So there's a lot of these areas. So we want to share this because you may have been thinking one direction, but you have to pivot. What we've always instructed our candidates over the years is don't get pigeonholed into one particular area. Now, kitchen and bath is a pretty wide array. I mean, yes, they're two of the most crucial parts of any home and with businesses. And so we're seeing there's a lot that's going to be done in that arena and continue to be. And we're seeing some really positive things. But we want to make sure that you know that you can shift a little bit. But what's great about this is that if you look in, 3 of these areas are related to pretty much the kitchen and bath. You know, the residential side on both sides, resident renovation and design, and then obviously the products. And so they're really good. It's a good sign. We're not where we want to be, obviously. There's still a number of people unemployed, but I can tell you, you know, thankfully we're not in the hospitality industry, which has been really decimated, unfortunately for those folks. And so I think that we'll see a little bit, we're going to see a faster rebound than some other sectors, which is great. So I wanted to share that with you because it's important. So Nadia wants to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did with our clients. Whoop, here we go, wrong way.
All right, so when we talked about, as Ken said, so it's important to know what areas are we seeing hiring, and it's not just what's coming in our doors, but certainly as we talk to candidates and find out where they're interviewing and what they're doing, and it all falls inside those areas. But also understanding the motivators and why are people shifting, because there's even movement we're seeing in these areas. So for example, when we look at kitchen and bath, we've had recently several clients reach out to us that furloughed their team, some of the people on their team. And this is, I would put all of these calls, I would put in the bucket of showroom design sales. So meaning these are candidates that are designers, but working in a showroom type environment, but working with the trade and that type of thing. So what happened was when in many cities that they laid off or they furloughed their employees to kind of get through the couple months, and then fully had the expectation that they would just hire them back when the doors opened again and they're ready to get back to business. But we're seeing quite a few clients that if 2 things happen: one, the candidates home and decide that, you know what, maybe that isn't a company I want to work for. Maybe I'm going to take this as an opportunity to make that change I've been wanting to do, and not actually coming back when they've been asked. The other thing is there's actually quite a number of candidates who on unemployment, if they're making $55,000 around that ballpark, they're making the same, if not more, than they were making in their position. So as I said, this applies to kind of those candidates making $55K or less. So I had, just this week, I had a couple clients reach out and say, gosh, I reached out to 2 of the furloughed people, and they said they're not coming back until their unemployment. They're waiting to see if there's going to be an extension with the benefits, with the added booster of $600. So it's actually put a lot of clients in this kind of a pickle. But I think it raises an incredible opportunity for an emerging professional, because you, as someone that is coming into the industry fairly new, that would be a compensation range that would align with your goals maybe. And we're really seeing a lot of pockets. And I can think off the top of my head of 5 different companies that had this issue. So we're seeing that. Top grading their team. We're also seeing companies that laid off their employees and then decided during the downtime, as we illustrated before, when they've really been working on their business, becoming more efficient, and really addressing who are those A players and who are those people when we come back and we really need to be competitive, who are we bringing back? And not everybody made the cut. So they brought back 2 or 3 people that were A players, and then they decided to go out and hire outside of the company. So that is something that's been really interesting, I think. And then the other thing Ken touched on too, the migration of talent. We're seeing a lot of people who've been living in urban cities, especially young people who've been paying really high rents, maybe have multiple roommates, that have gone home during the, or stuck in cities that they're paying rents because of all of the incredible benefits you get for living in that city, except the city's closed. So those people, they don't want to live there. So now secondary cities are becoming really, really marketable. So we're finding this influx. So it'll be interesting to see what that will look like in the long term. But right now we're seeing that. And that's okay. We're looking ahead. So I was done anyways, but that's really, when we talk about our clients, that's really the reason why are there openings happening now. Because as Ken mentioned, some people feel like, there aren't people hiring or it's doom and gloom. And actually there's a lot of pockets and a lot of reasons, even for companies that were hit pretty hard, that they looked at their team and saw how they reacted to change, reacted to implementation of new technology. And the employees who were not on board to improve, they don't want to bring them back, or if they've laid them off. So there actually are a lot of pockets for, I think, especially for emerging professionals, to look in the job market and find some, especially with some really nice branded companies.
Yeah, what on that is that one of our clients, larger firm, about 100 employees, just like you said, they had all these people working remote, and next thing you know, they realized, wait a minute, they're not nearly as productive. They're not adapting. And what's great about typically with millennials or people that are emerging professionals, they're usually their technology skills are a little more heightened because of the coursework they've done, or because of just the tools that they've been put in front of them. So it does give you an advantage, because one, you're coming out. I mean, some of you guys are coming right out of school and going right into the industry with COVID at your doorstep here, to give you a boost of be able to understand and work within these remote confines, right? So you're already walking into this, which is, if that's your first steps into the work industry, it's going to give you an opportunity to kind of maybe get past some of the people that are not. And there's a number of people from our clients that have said they're just not willing to adjust. Some people have to be in office, right? So they really can't function. But a lot of companies are not going to go back to work as they were. They're going to have a large remote force, or people are going to work a blended part-time in the office, part-time at home. And so this does very much, like Nandy said, open up an opportunity for you.
Yeah. And the other thing that was interesting, I talked about when we were polling a lot of our clients during this time, and one thing, one of the questions that we asked our clients is, what has surprised you about your team, or what are some of the positive things that have come out of it? And we heard over and over again across many different industries, meaning in architecture firms, design firms, showroom companies, that in this, what we put in, let's say, in this crisis time where people had to really change and come up with ideas, they found in a lot of situations it was the more junior members on the team that became the idea people and became the people who were eager to take over something that was outside of their quote-unquote job requirement. Example would be in the showroom, we had some clients share that some of the designers that weren't as busy because of projects asked if they could take over marketing, and started doing like Instagram takeovers, We had another client that started putting their designers on the live chat. So they implemented a live chat for a showroom, and then the clients could communicate that way. And they found that the younger, more junior level team members were really excited to jump in and take a piece of the marketing and do that. And why I'm sharing that with you is because I think it was a really nice opportunity for some people to look at a younger, less experienced person and see the impact and value they brought in this time. And it'll allow them to look differently going forward and give more leadership, or actually look at also intangible skills that this person had that they didn't even know they had because it wasn't part of their job. So it was an interesting thing to see clients report back that there was a lot of really beautiful surprises that happened with people rising to the challenge. So one thing I think is fun, a lot of people in this technology, do you want to flip it to the next screen?
Yep.
What are some of the new things outside of what we already touched on, like the Zoom and all that? And I'm not going to play this video. I can email it to you guys if you want after we have the list. But this is an example. We talk about using tools. So what this woman is doing is a video email. And what this is interesting, how we're seeing video emails be used is in a couple ways. One, people who are networking as a follow-up to someone you've met at a networking event, which obviously hasn't been happening that much as of late. But two, a way to set yourself apart from other job seekers. So the reason we put this on here is, see how she has the sign. The sign, and maybe if you were a job seeker, you might put something a little more professional than just hi David, first name. But the point is she's done that because when you record a video, and we all know, we've seen the video where it gets frozen and someone's face is in a bizarre kind of mid facial expression. She's done this so when it comes into the person's inbox, the sign is there, and it could even say, hi, my name is so-and-so, rather than like if you were doing a cold video email. And basically I shared it because she's just in her home office. This isn't a high level of camera production. She's got her iPhone or her smartphone set up. And basically, because you can't hear the sound, but basically she's just saying, hi, I met you at the event. We're doing it for a job seeker. You can say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I saw your posting for this opportunity. I really have followed your company. I'm really excited about what you're creating over there. I'd love the opportunity to interview with you. I can guarantee you they're not getting very many of those. And so you will be remembered. So we're seeing this a tool. We're also seeing a lot of our clients, the design and sales teams, using video emails to stay connected with their clients. So as it says on their, sales as a contact sport. Well, how do you create and maintain those relationships? So I shared this with a webinar we were doing with a client to share how their sales team can stay engaged. But we're seeing it now used more and more in the job seeking environment. And I think it's really effective if done correctly. And just very simply, you make sure the background looks really clean and professional. The lighting is bright. He looks professional, but it's not overly done. She's casual, comfortable, and engaging. So as I said, as a follow-up, if anybody wants a copy of that video, I can just email it to the list. She just does a nice job.
Yeah. It's really impactful. We're starting to use it as a company called, if you want to use a free source for this, it's called Cloud HQ. That's Cloud, C-L-O-U-D HQ. They have a free Gmail integration. And, something as putting on the sign, like hire me, just catching their attention. It's just like Nadia says, just standing out a little bit is going to make an impact. And we're utilizing it more and more video into our business. And we're seeing a very positive feedback from it. So definitely take advantage of it. Cloud HQ is a really great resource and it's free. So. All right, so that's great. Anything else you want to add to that, Ned?
I don't think so. I think you're going to talk a little bit about the networking. So I think that was it. Yep. I just want to introduce how video is being used on both sides. I think it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about networking. More than ever, it's really important to network virtually. And so we'll talk about LinkedIn first. So, there's good ways and bad ways to do this. And so one thing that we've seen is that if you're going to connect with people on LinkedIn, which we welcome you guys to connect with us on LinkedIn, Ken Roberts and Nadia Roberts. And yet, by the way, yes, we are husband and wife. People ask us all that for how we're related, but that we are married. But connecting on LinkedIn is important and effective, but people don't like just to be randomly just invited, right? There has to be some form of connection or something in common. Where I think people don't take the time is to really look at someone's profile, to really look at who they are, what they do, where did they go to school, what interests, what groups. Well, you know, there's usually some connection there. You know, whether you're part of the same group on LinkedIn, whether you're part of the same association, NKBA, whether you are went to the same school or you had the same professor or whatever that may be. And so connecting with someone and noting that you have something in common or some form of connection or you know someone mutually gives you a 70% chance of that person accepting the invite, as opposed to only a 30% chance if you don't have that. So it's really important to make sure you're taking the time to look in people's profile and then utilizing LinkedIn in a very important way. I mean, everything from, you know, LinkedIn is the professional Facebook, right? We don't really recommend using Facebook as a networking source. LinkedIn is primary. Instagram it can be questionable, can be done in an effective way. A lot of companies use stuff for Instagram. Twitter, not so much. You know, obviously you can Pinterest and some other ways to kind of market yourself potentially could be effective, but LinkedIn is really that one probably primary source. You know, making sure you're taking the time to look when you're looking at people is that you can actually, you know, make sure that people know that you're looking. There's a setting that you can put that it says open, that you click that you're open for opportunities. That a lot of people don't do that, even though they're applying for jobs, they don't put that they're open for opportunities. So you got to make sure you're clicking that, putting that on your LinkedIn profile. Saying it right into your profile heading. You can say, you know, kitchen and bath designer are looking for opportunities. People need to know that you're looking. And I think that people are afraid or something that they may seem to come across as needy or desperate or what have you. But I think it's important that people know that you need to advertise. Just, you know, if you want to be stand out in a right way, is making yourself available in that aspect. So, you know, things that we're seeing some things also is utilizing video in that introduction, not just in this particular way that we not even mentioned is the video, but utilizing on LinkedIn, putting video in there or sending people a little snippet about who you are and what you've done. I've seen people do video portfolio presentations and been very effective. A small 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes, little presentation to give them an understanding of who you are and what you're about. You're looking the part, you're really presenting your stuff, you know, informally but effectively. You know, you don't want to get too crazy, but I think it's putting yourselves a little bit outside the box is going to make an impact on how you stand out. And everybody, you know, we all know we want to, you know, in order to, you know, you don't want to be just part of that crowd. You want to stand out and above, and you have to do some of these things to just stand out just a little bit to be noticed. So making sure that people know you're looking for opportunities is super important. Making sure that you're connecting in a way that you are really utilizing some form of something in common is important. And then putting your resume and portfolio out there on LinkedIn is very effective and important. You know, you can put your portfolio on LinkedIn right into your profile, make sure it's updated. You know, it's important. We get people, a lot of times they put their resume and stuff up there and they forget to update it. And so we don't see that where they've been working for the last, you know, number of years. You know, I know that a lot of students always ask, well, Ken, well, I don't have a lot of experience. Make sure you put in your internships. If you're working on anything that's related to design. Listen, if you're working at Home Depot or Lowe's, but you're working in their kitchen and bath section, listen, that's related, right? It's something that you're informing yourself about product and having product knowledge. You know, I think that there's lots of ways that you can make sure that you are presenting yourself via this digital platform in front of you to really make sure that people noticing who you are and what you bring to the table. I think that we don't spend enough time really looking at our digital presence. So looking at what you have on Facebook, looking what you have on Instagram, what are you saying on Twitter? You got to be careful is that I can guarantee you 100% before someone picks up the phone or emails you to come in for an interview, they're going to look you up on social media and they're going to do a very thorough job. And I'll be honest with you folks, we do it because we want to make sure that we are presenting you in the right environment. And so not that we're saying we're looking for things that are going to be a problem, but we're looking to really understand who you are and what are the interests that you may have. And so if you have things that may be potentially questionable or you know, if you're young and you've done some silly things out there and you have those things posted, they stay with you for a long time. So take some time and clean up your digital portfolio and digital profile to make sure it's an effective representation of who you are now, not what you were during college or wherever that was. So one thing that I think we wanted to mention, people ask us about is about second career folks. Do we want to talk about that? Because I know that was one of the topics that brought up.
Absolutely. So second career, I think we're big believers that second career professionals bring a ton to the table. And I know it's always a challenge because they've had the first chapter of their career and they could have risen up and really successful. Then they go back into a creative field and they don't want to start entry level or what have you. But I think that as far as marketing yourself, it's really important. Maybe you've heard this before, but it is really important to tie in those other skill sets and experience. For example, the basics, managing people. Sometimes what we'll see is that people will write on their resume, worked at an insurance company, and they'll just have it really brief for like 20 years, and now they're in design. What they haven't done is pulled out all the areas of working at that insurance company that are really valuable. Coming up with processes, interacting with clients, doing presentations, managing junior people, acting as a mentor. So I think even if it's something you've heard before, it's really how it's done and highlighted on your resume. Also being aware and knowing that really on a job hunt, adapting your resume specifically to each position you're interested in is really critical, because some companies, if it's a large commercial firm, the skills that they're looking for when there's much more or many more employees is different than a really small company. Whereas really small companies look for people who can wear many hats, that are really efficient, that are comfortable taking out the trash, to doing this and that. There's different skill sets that you want to highlight, and it's not one size fits all. So I think especially now, as we're seeing companies being really efficient with their teams and really almost, I feel like in some ways, the whole, like, this is not my job description thing is no longer going to be an acceptable way of doing business. We're seeing people wearing many hats, doing many things. So a second career professional, in a lot of cases, brings all of those elements to the table. So once again, too, the other thing I suggest, which, I mean, this can go either way, but sometimes if you're a second career person, you have to figure out how to get past the gatekeeper, because a lot of times the gatekeeper is the person that can be a block to you actually getting a meeting. So it's even more important that you're networking. It's even more important that you're going outside of your comfort zone to make direct connections and try and have a conversation with someone who has a voice of decision in the organization that you want to work, because often it's that personal recommendation that will fast forward you to get the meeting that you want. And then once they meet you, more often than not, it's a really impressive interview because you have so much business acumen from your previous career. So I always say, don't get discouraged if there's a frontline HR person who doesn't see exactly what they want on your resume. Sometimes you have to be a little creative and try to make those personal connections within the company.
Yeah. We got a question here. One of the questions was, if you don't want you're currently employed and you don't want your employee to know that you're open to opportunities, is there a way to do that on LinkedIn, that community, that other than noting that you're open for opportunities as far as the settings? One thing that I would recommend is that you can definitely say that you're open to networking, right? So if you let people know, hey, I'm open to networking, you see that in people's titles all the time, it lets people know that you're open to connecting. And so whether it's another recruiter, whether it's a company, it'll allow people know that you're just not kind of doing your thing and putting yourself out there. You need to put your resume and stuff out there. There's lots of ways to do that. And I think that if you're, obviously you can go deeper into why you're not, happy with your employer, and, there's obviously things that address there. But there's definitely ways to connect on people, joining a lot of groups, and let people know that you're open to connecting with people. And then you taking the initiative to connect with people, connecting with principals of companies, showroom managers, depending on what direction you want to go, is to making sure you're putting yourself out there. and making sure that when that profile is all set and they see that your resume and your portfolio is on there. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're looking for a job if your resume and portfolio is on there. That just means that you're just keeping yourself a full profile out there and people have it on there all the time. If you don't feel comfortable putting your resume, just keep your portfolio on there. It's fine. But I think you taking an initiative and connecting with people and say specifically open to networking, I think that it will definitely send a positive message. It's maybe not as effective as open to opportunities because that is a searchable area that recruiters and people that have access to internet to LinkedIn from a searching of potential candidates. They have a way to search for open for opportunities, and it does allow you to specifically hone in on those folks because we know that they usually won't reply back quickly. So I'm looking if there's any other questions, but we want you to ask them into the chat. I'm just trying to find. There was a few questions that Zach showed us. Nadia, do you remember what those questions were about?
Second career, so we touched on that, and I know one person noted that they were actually an employer and trying to find out tips for how to find out if a potential employee or potential employee is a good fit. And you know, it's a hard question to answer off the cuff just because there's so many specifics to the interview process in your sector. But I will say this as for, you know, this specific person that's employer looking, is that the interview process, we have a whole webinar that we give on really like the interview process. And it's really about being a little more thorough. I think we can all agree that to meet somebody for an hour or two in a boardroom situation doesn't really assess if they're a right fit. So just as a quick takeaway, one of the things we're seeing a lot more of is people doing what we call working interviews. So they're having the potential employee come and work a half day with the team, or if it's a designer, walk away, do a design charrette, come back and present it. If it's a showroom person, work with the team. Now, of course, if someone's gainfully employed, they're not going to be able to go take a day off work and go do a pretend day at work, but they can give more time. They can do a take-home project and present it in an interview process. So there's a lot of things you can do that get you beyond just that traditional interview one-on-one thing, having them go to lunch with your team, taking them to lunch as an employer, seeing how they act in a comfortable environment. There's a lot of things you can do because most people are really, you don't understand and uncover them until you get through a few steps and until you have a few other stakeholders in the process share their opinion and see how they interact. So I would say to that potential employer, really look at reinventing your interview process. And you know, the adage is if someone really wants to work for you, they should be willing to invest time on the front end. Now, I will say I do have clients that they're asking someone to come and do a working day if it's possible, they offer to pay, or if they're, and just not a huge amount, and a lot of times the candidates won't even take it, but it's a respectful thing to say, if I'm asking you to take a day off work and come into my office, I'm happy to pay you a contract rate. It's a very small investment to see if there's a connection with the team, etc. And I think it's, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, nothing.
Oh, sorry, I think it's just my echo. Anyways, I think Denise asked a question about freelancers.
Yep.
So there's 2 points. I'll say mine and then Ken can share too. Freelancing, there is some with companies that are a little worried about what, you know, the next Q3 and 4 looks like and not committing to a full-timer. But so absolutely, there's opportunity for contractors out there. But truthfully, a lot of people think that people are floating around unemployed, and those people that are unemployed, if they've been furloughed, you actually can't technically work for another company. And if you're on unemployment, you can't either. So there isn't truly the number of people that are just looking to freelance out there because of COVID. Now, in general, freelance, yes, we do it. There's a lot of it. It's a great way if there is an opportunity for someone to get them to freelance a full time. That's a wonderful scenario. It doesn't always work, people, if they're working full time. And because it's such a project-based business, or in the showroom, people typically don't like freelancers unless it's to cover holidays or part-time just because of continuity with clients. So there is some out there, but we're not seeing some giant uptick. It's more long-term project-based.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some of the smaller companies, smaller mom and pop design firms, they might be more open to just part-time employees rather than 1099s or freelancers. And yeah, that Nadia brings up a good point. You got to be really careful if you are on unemployment, and if you take on any even 1099 work, you lose your unemployment benefits. But then again, if it does open up an opportunity for something bigger and better, then you should take that opportunity. We got another couple questions here, Nad. So one of the questions is, someone's concerned about their geographical area being close to a big city. Do we see clients being more open to local candidates, or are they open to considering remote candidates given the COVID environment? So I'll start off. And what's great is that prior to COVID, because of the supply and demand, as I mentioned earlier, this supply of design and talent in our industry, and the increased demand, we're seeing more and more companies being open to remote employees. Now, obviously, it's the type of employees. Designers, architects, yes. Sales, not so much, unless it's they're not too far from where they need it, if they're regional, what have you. But I think that they are definitely more open to it. However, you have to remember is that this is all very new for a lot of companies, so it's a slow-moving boat. It's a little bit faster now than it was pre-COVID because they have to be, but they still don't all understand how are they going to effectively manage people remotely. Are people going to be as productive? And we're seeing actually really positive results on some of our clients seeing that they are more productive. But at the end of the day, there is an opportunity there. We just got to be a little bit more flexible with the time frame. And also we need to make sure that you are prepared to, we're seeing more companies relocate. That's one thing that's to know, that if you want to get out of that particular area, like we said earlier, that we're seeing people move to non-urban markets. So we're seeing more and more people open to relocation. But I think from the remote aspect of it, I think you need to put people out there that you're open to that. And you think you need to tell people that if you're applying to positions that are in other cities, you need to clearly let them know that you're prepared and you have the ability to do that. I think that letting people know that you have space in your home or your apartment for an office, that you're set up for and you have some of the tools that you've done. Maybe you've done some remote work, whether it's freelance. Make sure you're voicing that in your communication with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And we were seeing just before COVID hit, we started just see the very beginning of design clients open to remote people as part of their permanent team. As we know, it's such a tactile environment. People are so used to being in a studio environment where they're picking materials together or they're working with clients hand in hand. So it's taken a hurdle. We're seeing it in companies that have a shortage of talent, like a lot of smaller cities where they want kind of big-time talent, as we say. They've been more open to the remote. But to Ken's point, it's moved the needle a little bit, but it's still kind of slow in our sectors.
For sure.
So is there any more questions, or how are we doing?
One more question here. Someone just asked, just so you know, someone asked about our services, how we work. Candidates, which a potential employee for one of our clients hire us, employers hire us, they pay our fee. Employees or candidates do not pay a fee. Now, we don't necessarily, we're currently not doing any specific career coaching. If we are a candidate that we can help you through with one of our opportunities, we will guide you and coach you, prep you for all those opportunities and everything in between there. However, we don't necessarily market candidates out usually. So if you came to us and we don't have a position in your area or your particular sector or what you're doing, we would love to have your information in our database, because that could change tomorrow. But we won't necessarily go to companies that we're not working with and say, hey, I have a great designer. We don't do that aspect of it. There are recruitment companies that have done that in the past, and they charge the candidate a fee. I am leery and questionable about that. That's an old school way of doing things. But in a simple answer, we don't charge candidates a fee. The employers or clients pay our fee. So I hope that makes it clear. So that being said, I don't think there's any more questions here, but feel free. You can email us. Our emails are on this page. You can see it, Kenneth at Interior Talent, Nadia Interior Talent. We'd love you to sign up for our newsletter. If you go to our website, we have a great newsletter. We have an incredible resource page, guys. Please go to interiortalent.com and take advantage of the resource page under looking for a job. Really great information there. We've spent a lot of time over the last few months putting some really great resources and information there to help you. We are doing a really great series called Coffee and Conversations. We're doing a next one tomorrow. It's on Instagram. It's a short one, maybe it's about 10 minutes. But Nadia and I are going to be talking about kind of the good and the bad of the hiring experiences over the 17 years. Just give you some fun stories of things you should and should not do. We really want to make sure that we can be a resource for the design community where we can. That's why we like to do these webinars to kind of help students. One of the things I can say is you know, stand your ground in this industry. We saw a massive exodus in the last recession of really great talent, and it became a really deep shortage, which allowed people that stayed in it great opportunities to move up quickly. I can tell you, I can name dozens of people that I know that in a normal environment wouldn't be where they are in seniority if it wasn't for the last recession, right? And we're sort of in a recession now, obviously, right? So if you stay true to the industry, keep where you're going, stay through to it, I guarantee you that there's going to be people that are going to fall off. They're going to leave the industry, they're going to do something else, and that will open up opportunities for you. So stay the course. We appreciate that you guys taking time to do this. Denise possibly wanted to, if her audio is better, I don't know if it's, Denise, do you want to come back on?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Great,
Yeah.
hear great.
Great, that's awesome. Well, thank you both so much. I've been on your website and I will concur that you've got tons of resources out there. So I encourage people to connect with you. So thanks for all of this. This was just a ton of great information. We've been trying to virtually share content with our members to keep connected, stay informed. You know, professional development is important. Emerging professionals, what can you do to get hired? That's important. So we're trying to mix it up. Kelsey might type in a couple of upcoming programs in the chat if that works. Otherwise, check your emails, check our Facebook page, NKBA, Wisconsin, Upper Michigan. And yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. We really appreciate it too. And there's some, if you guys look in the chat, there's some great dates that Kelsey put on there for June 25th. So, and look, June 25th, July 8th, and July 15th. Make sure you guys take advantage of those. I'm sure they're going to be really interesting. But again, thank you very much, Nadia.
Yeah, have a lovely evening, and thanks again, and hopefully we'll stay connected going forward.
Yep. Stay safe out there. Wear your face masks. And thanks so much, everybody. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you guys as candidates, maybe even clients in the future.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye.